Alright guys, this is Dave again, just coming on to give a little bit of an update. There was an update to Microsoft Mixed Reality Runtime. I'm sure most of you saw that pop up on the OpenXR. There's also an update on the Steam OpenXR. So here's what I found out. You noticed that before on the previous video I said do not use motion reprojection in the Microsoft OpenXR mixed reality because it causes massive stuttering. Well, I found out why. On the Steam forums, when it talks about it, they actually state that applications controlled enable motion smoothing is not enabled when using Oculus Rift or Windows mixed reality headsets with SteamVR because the underlying video display drivers use different techniques or applications miss frame rates. So what that means is if you are using the OpenXR mixed reality with your G2 or a Windows mixed reality headset, you have to disable it inside of SteamVR. So make sure that you do that and enable it as automatic in the Windows developers tool and then save that. Everything else is pretty much the same. One last thing, I did switch over to using FXAA with 4 times anti-aliasing just because I wanted to see how much more efficient the game was for my gameplay with the higher frame rate. I am getting about 75 to 80, 90 frames in general, depending on, of course, if I get near large cities or a lot of anti-aircraft, it drops down into the 50s. Which is expected. There's always a pull on frame rate with a lot of activity like AI bombers. So that's a major change there. Also, if you're running an older system, I found turning off distant buildings does dramatically reduce frame rate hits when you're flying around cities because it will not draw those cities unless you're within 1,000 meters of them. So that is a big help, but the downside is it also makes it more difficult to navigate if you've become comfortable just looking out and seeing the buildings in a distance. Instead, it's a dark black patched area that you have to kind of get used to, like looking for runways. So it's kind of a mixed bag of nuts, but wanted to kind of go over those two items there. That was a big change, and I noticed a massive difference for it. One last other thing is NVIDIA. So there's a couple changes on that I did notice for the 3D settings, and I'll just go over those real quick. I've been kind of back and forth on the image sharpening. I do kind of find it is a little easier to see things cleaned up with it on. So if you're having some frame rate issues though, that's a good one to kill. Turn that off. And then I'll just kind of slowly go through the rest of it. Everything else is pretty much the same as you can see, but just go through, take a look at what I'm showing here, and then if you have any questions. The virtual pre-rendering frames is great if you're playing this game offline and you're seeing any stutter issues with the AI. You can crank that up to 4 when you're playing offline, and it does not affect gameplay. But I have found when you have that turned on in gameplay, you find yourself getting sniped a lot and never seeing the bullets come in. Because it's adding some latency between you. It's like increasing your ping. Think of it that way in a way, but it's causing some issues there for. And I also went from negative LOD BIOS back and forth. You can try it, but it seems to kill about 8 to 10 frames, clamping that down. So you can test your system until we all can afford brand new, 3090 GTXs or something like that. All right, you guys have a good one.